matches of Week 6 as we continue the spring split. Yesterday, Misfits and H2K added more points to the board as we move closer and closer to the finals in Hamburg. So you can see there, G2 earlier was setting up on stage as they are preparing for their matchup back in the European LCS studios versus Vitality. Good evening, everyone. I'm Eve Supporter, and joining me to bring you tonight's action are James Stress O'Leary and Andrew Various Day. Andy, how are you feeling? You went to Katowice, now back here. A lot of games to cover there as well.
Yes, it was a long and busy weekend, but we had a lot of fun. The European teams learned a lot. One of them managed to make it to the finals, so that's always great to see.
Yeah.
Always great to see. Doesn't happen very often, but...
Unless you're in the European LCS.
European teams win all the time, so that's great. So let's take a look at how Groups A and B stand. Of course, still unchanged at the top of Group A. G2 Esports and Misfits is getting closer.
Yes, this is the first time for a while where we've actually seen a shift in Group B now, with H2K taking first place after their dominating victory yesterday, whereas Misfits, they were able to beat Unicorns of Love, so that's why they've now fallen down in second place.
Meanwhile, middle and the bottom of the table has stayed the same, although some of these teams are playing today. Of course, you've got Giants, Rocket at the likes of the bottom of Group A, but the story was all about the teams that came back from IEM and how H2K progressed, because yesterday looked so good for them.
Yeah, it did, and it also looked fantastic for Misfits. They stepped up against the Unicorns of Love. As mentioned, so we were tracking kind of their improvement, and they just look absolutely dominant on the macro, but also early in these games.
The Misfits roster right now looked like one, if not possibility, to be the strongest team in Europe. They had such a clean macro game in their Game 1 performance, and while the Unicorns definitely fought back in Games 2 and 3, I still think that we have seen that Misfits did not use that week unprepared.
Yeah, and in Misfits, the vision game was improved so much, but then we went to a less close series. Still enjoyable if you're an H2K fan, because H2K brought everything back that they learned against the Flash Wolves and the teams at IM, and then inflicted it upon Fnatic, and you know, everything from the early game to just crushing fights as they went through, H2K ending in a very quick 2-0.
That they did, and also those teams who went to IEM Katowice, they put a couple of things in their backpack and brought them with them to Europe, some gameplay elements and competitive play. What are the most insightful ones we saw yesterday,
I think it was the next step forward on refining what teams had kind of already got, which was win the lanes, push out, and try and utilize that. But Flash Wolves showed us very well how to utilize that with the right kind of jungle playstyle and pick. It's all about stealing away camps.
It is very much about these Raptors now. We've seen it way more at the level 1 mark and level 4 mark as well. Trying to get that early experience and deny it from your opponent jungler is what is so integral for the early game success. We heard it in the rollout from Yanko yesterday. I feel bad. The enemy jungler is only level 5, whereas I'm level 7. And this is the ability that you have if you're able to capitalize on these pushing lanes and the ability to invade.
And it might even be a good way to go for the teams that are struggling for points, because it seems pretty simple in the end. Choose winning lanes if you can and get a jungler that can push him.
It's as easy as that. Win lane, win game.
Easy. Well,
everybody said it.
We'll see. There are 4 more matchups remaining in Week 6 of the European LCS Spring Split. Today, of course, G2 and Vitality, and then Splice versus Giants. And tomorrow, Misfits versus OG and the Unicorns of Love taking on Rocket. Some tough matches for the bottom of the table tomorrow. We'll see if they can get some points. But our first match of the evening is G2 versus Vitality. G2, they are undefeated in the European LCS. They are the reigning champions, and they also made it to the finals of the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. That all sounds great on paper.
And it sounds great when you also compare them against the rest of the teams in Europe, because G2 are a step above it. It's undoubtable. Across multiple competitions, they've taken 4 wins and 0 losses against the Unicorns, who were looking great themselves in the weeks leading up. But I think when you look at the team, one of the players that has improved drastically in this split is Perks. He had a bit of a shaky time in splits gone by, and we were asking, is he still the player that can carry? Well, he started carrying. He stepped up, especially at IEM. We saw a lot more out of Perks.
But while we are seeing growth in Perks, we're almost seeing a decline in the bottom lane of G2. Throughout the tournament of IEM, they seem to be making uncharacteristic mistakes, whether it be dying in lane 2 versus 2, getting caught out of position come the mid game, and it just brings into question what is happening within the dynamic of G2, because a lot of criticism in the past went towards this mid laner who's now improved, and now the bottom lane is really struggling to step up and be that staple that they've had for so long.
Yeah, and the issue here is also that in Europe, it doesn't really matter. We've seen games in which the bottom lane didn't do well at all, but G2 as a whole can overcome that, and they've come out to say, well, how do we improve our practice when we're constantly at the top in Europe and there's no other teams?
And that's such an interesting discussion because the Flash Wolves, you can see on your screen just how much they dominated G2. Well, they get to train against a lot of the Korean teams thanks to proximity to the servers. They play on the same servers. You get scrims against SKT when you can take them, and Flash Wolves have talked very openly about how they get that. Well, here in Europe, there aren't many teams, even in scrims, that can really push G2 to the same limit. I mean, maybe an H2K or a Misfits, but then you look at the rest of the teams and you're like, they're not going to capitalize on Sven being a little bit out of position and getting caught.
Yeah, and Vitality probably isn't going to do it, but we do have to look at Vitality and ask ourselves the question, what have they shown us the last couple of weeks? Well, not really an identity, not a whole lot of nothing, so we want to just see something, a sign of life, some action on the map from them.
When you look back at their game versus Misfits, they had a 28-minute nothing. They did nothing. They conceded lanes, they conceded objective, they conceded everything to Misfits, and they just didn't even try. At least from other teams in the European LCS, when they're in a deficit, they at least try to force back, they at least try to force picks. Vitality do nothing. They literally allow everybody the freedom to do whatever they want, and this is a worrying sign when we are this far into the European LCS.
It is, and I think there's a moment where we can kind of take a reset point for Vitality from the IEM week. They've just seen how teams can beat G2. You've just watched how a more aggressive playstyle can influence the map thanks to the Flash Wolves and the IEM teams. Now, I hope they've taken that on board, come with a strategy that they can now apply with their team. They've had a lot of roster changes, but just come in clean with a strategy and see how well you can do against G2.
And as you rightly said, maybe G2 as a team, you're not looking to beat them, but you are looking as to how well you can do with the coming weeks ahead, because you have some very big games with which you can very easily get points from. But if you're going to have the same play styles that you had versus Misfits, that is not going to be enough to take down teams like Giants and Rocket.
No, it isn't. Well, we will see if Vitality take the series as a chance to test their aggressive capabilities as we head over to the casters for their first game against G2.
Thank you very much, Shocks. And hello, Internet. I'm Devin Pirate, Technics Young, of course, joined by my good buddy Mitch Kreppel. Vorspals. We're going to bring you our first matchup of the evening. It seems like it was only yesterday.
Yesterday that we casted together. It was actually yesterday.
Go figure. I guess my memory's a little foggy sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes that works. It was a good series. I enjoyed it. However, this one has a lot of question marks. I don't know. Like, is Vitality going to use that 2 weeks of practice that they got? Are they going to center themselves? How has G2 reacted to disappointing IM performance? Because it's kind of weird because they got much farther than H2K. They got farther than Unicorns of Love, but they got by far the most blame placed onto them.
Well, that's just what happens. People are always expecting big things out of G2. But let's not get too far into it because we're going to be seeing those teams take to the Rift in a minute. Let's take a look at our rosters. In the red corner, it is G2 Esports, which means we have Expect up in the top lane, Trick in the jungle, Perks on mid, Sven, the AD carry, support Mithy, and their coach is Youngbuck.
Yeah, and they'll obviously be looking for a clean victory today. 2-0 is what they have in mind. Hopefully it works for them. They're obviously facing Vitality, and that roster has a relatively new player in them. Let's take a look here. We have Kabashard in the top lane. Joko is still in the jungle. Nukeduck is in the mid lane. Steelback with 3 Es always throws me off, and the AD carry. But then AOD is still here, and he was looking for more footing on the stage. He had one kind of set on stage, 2 games of Nami. Didn't look that comfortable. Nami also not a meta pick, so it shows that he was looking for comfort. We need to see if Vitality have kind of put those nerves to rest, and hopefully AOD can shine a bit more.
Yeah, it's always tough trying to come in, especially in a team that is already in turmoil. They had tried some experimentation on the Vitality side. They used Nukeduck on support. They had GBM coming in for mid, and then they just kind of kept switching things around. Yeah. Seems like they haven't, as they said on the desk, really found an identity.
Yeah, and it's really hard because the recent meta shift is something the pro players are talking about a lot right now, is how Vision is the new objective. I mean, that's kind of the old story of League of Legends, but they've kind of rediscovered it. Whereas in Europe, traditionally, we've been looking at what's the next objective, Baron, Dragon, but it seems like the great teams, the good, fantastic teams, they treat Vision itself as an objective, and for that, you need proactivity from your support and your jungler.
It's the kind of thing we need to see at Vitality.
Yeah, and if you have a new jungler like Vitality and a new support in there, it's so hard to build that foundation with 2 kind of rookie players.
All right, so as we get into picks and bans, the Shen's taken off the board for Vitality, but the Varus actually banned over on the red side, so G2 removing that very quickly from the pool.
Yep, that's a staple red side ban these days because you just do not want to give over Varus first pick. Simply too strong. I like that there's a bit more change up though, not the very stale kind of Rengar, Camille, LeBlanc bans all the time on purple side.
Yeah, changing things up a bit for sure. The Elise is banned away. There's an early game choice that we started to see coming back a little into vogue.
Yeah, definitely
answers.
more kind of Korean bands here. You know, get rid of the Elise.
Hey man, everybody sees a little bit more, not just at IEM where you see Kongdu and Rox Tigers, but I think everybody had their eyes on the game yesterday, the Telecom Wars, but this is back here in Europe. Now we'll see what lessons they can take. Rise is banned up for Vitality. No supports hit so far. I wouldn't be surprised to see Vitality go for an early support choice. Not on first rotation. The Jin's still up, of course, but there's options in the next one.
Yeah, they're looking at potentially Graves with Elise off the board as well as just a strong jungle pick here. They're looking at maybe the Rengar that's left over, maybe the Camille. Rengar, it's such a hot topic, really. So many teams valued it extremely high going into even IEM and then looking at different regions, and other regions didn't prioritize it that much, and in IEM it didn't really see that much success rather. So we need to see what Vitality can do with this pick, because it is quite tricky to play.
Yeah, definitely difficult, but if Vitality are taking it, says, all right, we want to make some plays early, or at least try to make them early. The Jin is answered on G2 Esports side. Would not be too surprised to see the Kha'Zix here, but the Graves is still up.
Yeah, I mean, it's comfort at this point. Personally, I like Graves more. I think it's sometimes difficult to play him with a team because it requires some communication, but he is a super strong jungler. Now, they have options, but they don't want to go into second ban phase and then have Vitality ban both Kha'Zix and Graves out, because then obviously they're in a tricky spot. For Vitality side, usually we see the Sivir pick on the rise into the Jin, but I like it paired with a Karma very often because it guarantees you the push, because if you somehow give the Karma over, then you nullify a lot of the potential there.
So they did give the Camille over, as you mentioned previously. It had been something that, you know, was back to the ban board yesterday rather, but not so much at IEM, and it's picked up. The Ezreal's also locked in on first rotation, so it's a lot of attack damage early on for Vitality.
Yeah, Vitality really focusing on the top side of the map as well, yielding bottom side with like a passive scaling pick like Ezreal that needs to build a tier, but they have, I guess, a strong spiking jungler on level 6 in Rengar, and they have a really massive duelist here in Camille, so maybe Vitality going back to spring of last year where they were consistently playing around Kabashard.
Yeah, and that's kind of been a little bit of a weird thing to see, because Kabashard, you know, he has been playing a lot more of those tanks initially, and he wasn't exerting nearly the same amount of pressure, obviously, on a tank. He's not going to do the same. But even when he tried to play a couple of carries, we weren't really seeing the same thing come out. He got his hands on Fiora once, he got a Camille once. I want to see if he's able to step back up into, you know, a shadow of that former carry player he used to be.
Yeah, obviously everybody around him got better, and obviously he's playing with a new jungler as well, so it's quite hard to build that synergy, because the Kabashard of old would have Shook alongside him, really pressuring that mostly bottom side of the map due to the lane swaps in the end, but he would have a massive CS advantage.
So Renekton banned for Vitality. G2 had actually not banned on their side.
Oh, they skipped one?
Not sure if it was deliberate or a mistake.
Usually that's a mistake, because there's plenty of stuff you can ban out. Worst case, you just ban out a mid lane champion that you don't want to play against, unless you are really dead set on thinking that Camille goes in the mid lane. Technically still possible.
Yeah, I just got confirmation in my ears too. That was actually a mess up. So they just let the timer run out. They banned Echo. Speaking of time, he's taken off the board too.
Need to look into the flexibility here. Echo is actually a really fun pick into Maokai for side lane pressure. So maybe they were thinking Camille could go mid. Or they're just scared of the nuke dog Echo mid lane.
Could always happen. You never know. Still one more ban for Vitality remaining. They've gotten rid of Renekton and now Poppy, so they target out the top lane.
Yeah, if you're G2 here, Maokai, or actually Nautilus after the nerfs, looking honestly really good. He gets the push over, and a slightly more push built in. Obviously, it depends if Expect can deal with a Camille in the top lane on that champion.
I don't need to pick it up just yet. G2 eyeballing their mid. Will Perks take the Cinder of Blind now?
I think you should wait for counter pick on mid lane and just locking that tank into the top lane. Because you have to imagine, yes, they could flex the Camille to mid lane, but what are you really going to counter pick top? Nautilus right now is just so strong, slightly risen above popularity of Maokai here, and he also just brings tankiness and CC and engage right now to the G2 Esports lineup, and that's what they need because they drafted a pure combat-oriented jungler.
Now they're looking to play it a little safer in the mid lane, which of course gives the tell-all that this Camille will definitely be going up to the top as expected. We get the Orianna lock-in for Nuke Duck, and now the last question remaining is what does AoE take? He's only played Nami so far on this stage.
They have two very interesting ball delivery systems in place. One's a kitty cat, the other one is one of the more broken champions in history of League of Legends in Camille. They can do it very well. I like that they pair it with Lulu from a comp point of view. The question is whether they can survive the lane. If you look at Lulu into Malzahar, that was a counter pick. Now with Voidling spawning slower, it's even better of a pick because you can get your autos off much more safely before you get wrecked by all those Voidlings.
Yeah, so draft not looking too bad for Vitality. I'm wondering if G2 left some of these things up on purpose, not worrying about Vitality's ability to really execute on this type of composition. Some slow scaling in the Ezreal and the Orianna, but they have early attack damage out of the Camille and Rengar.
Yeah, I think they should be fine. Rengar's pre-6 ganks aren't that strong, so it's unlikely that this Camille snowballs super hard. Expect should be able to play safe in the top lane. So from G2's point of view, they're happy with their comp. They have catch potential on AD carry, support, top lane and mid lane. They can punish with their jungle. They can pair jungler very well with top and with mid lane to generate skirmishes and fights that are beneficial for them. So it's much harder to play Vitality's lineup, but I'm afraid Vitality may fall into the same trap that they did against Misfits, where they will play super slow, scaling, and kind of wait for the ideal fight that will never happen.
And G2 are always a team that are going to make it hard for you to get those openings. But we'll see if they play a little bit differently than they have been in Europe. The IEM game certainly taught us one or two things for sure. But this is a comp that definitely looks very comfortable for this squad.
Yeah, definitely G2 should be comfortable here. And Vitality, again, for them it's to track what progression have they made in this 2 weeks off. They had all the time to practice at home, to watch IEM, to pick up these little gameplay elements, see how the great teams were performing. They also could watch the Telecom Wars to see how the
There
really
was a lot
great
of good
teams...
League of Legends going on.
Yep.
Some games better than others, but you know.
No. I mean, you can't compare anything to SKT versus KT.
No, there's really nothing quite like it, but G2, they're the team that wants to try and get up to that level. That's a mountain to climb. But if they can take some lessons away, there's always a few more steps you can go up. Vitality, they're just trying to show some consistency. Let's see if they can do it. If they can even get an inkling of something going against this G2 Esports squad. It's a tough team to face off. It is Europe's best, the kings of Europe, if you will.
There's one guy. He knows.
It always takes one.
Takes one guy to clap. Sometimes it's hard to know. You're sitting in a crowd and you're like,
yeah,
is it my time to shine? No,
you know,
just not yet.
What the fans don't know is that you actually have to start clapping before we can load onto the Rift.
Really?
It's mandated.
All right.
It's in the rule set, man. Look it up.
Clap before you enter the Rift.
There we go.
Speaking about clapping, G2 hoping to clap Vitality here.
Woo! All right, we're starting off spicy. Speaking of, there's a Mountain Drake that's going to hit the Rift early, so we might see some action down there. G2 are sending all 5 down towards the bottom side. We've seen them do a few of these deep invades before.
Yeah, they sometimes end up on kind of Raptor contests as well at the other side of the map here. Nukeduck getting moved out.
Oh yeah, he sees that, turns right on around. So there's the ward in, but it's spotted. Just going to be the ward down, and they ping the rest of G2.
And because the Raptor start isn't as great for a kind of a Rengar who needs at least from Ori, like maybe you can have Camillesh. It looked like Vitality were looking to punish G2 there, maybe. Look, the wards are so set around these Raptors in the early game. It's actually quite funny how it changed. It started with jungle spawning, you know, the red and blue buff, and everybody needed to do red and blue buff. It had to be hard leashes. Then it evolved into maybe we can do smiteless, and now these guys like, wait, hang on. I know Krug spawn late and Grom spawns late, but these Raptors, they're here already, and they're also squishy and they give you so much experience. Just come AoE them, and that's kind of how that changed.
Great time to be a jungler, for sure.
Yeah, and Vitality looking to do the invade that H2K did yesterday against Fnatic.
Yeah, we'll see if they make it happen. And speaking of Vitality and junglers, Joko, we talked about this team being a little passive, but Joko has been the exception to the rule, and they're actually going for the red right now, not spotted by Expect.
Yeah, I really like the sneaky invade, because it's without the knowledge of Expect. Unless he can ward try right now and see Cabochard come back to lane, this may be an opportunity for Joko to 3-buff Trick here, throwing off his game.
This would be a good start for Vitality and G2. You know, they don't seem to be expecting it right now. He's on the bottom side, a little bit preoccupied with the Gromp after he finished blue, so Joko gets away with it. He's actually heading up towards the top lane, level 2, around the backside.
And we see the good play here, or cheesy gank actually.
Bola comes out, Expect. He's going to have to flash. He burns it. Thunderlord's proc. There was a lot of damage there.
Ooh, Expect under pressure. This is exactly what Vitality need to do, because it's the only lane that can truly kind of play active. Orianna super passive lane, and in the bot lane, Vitality were just putting push pressure. So they pushed up early, and if you look at the ward that's been placed next to Gromp and blue buff on Trick's side, that gave information of where Trick started, how many camps he did, and his projected pathing. Similar thing happened in the H2K versus Flash Wolf series, where eventually Karsa got kind of spotted at Gromp after doing red. AOD trying to sniff out Trick here, but he's alone.
Oh yeah, isolation. Let's see, the Blast Cone's gonna get taken. AOD is able to get out without too much damage, and he noms on a biscuit. Now Mithy's going to be brought up with Trick to take the red buff.
So that's good adaptation from G2, and that's why I don't actually like that early gank in the top lane that much, because it gives away that buff advantage that you had.
AOD's waiting and baiting. Not much he can really get done. He can't get the Glitter Lance over the wall, so Trick ends up trading buffs. But you can already see Joko hanging in this bottom side. Meanwhile, in mid, Nuke Duck takes a Scout of the Week from Perks.
Yeah, Perks playing just hyper-aggressive here. Joko, why are you walking back into your own jungle? This is so greedy.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. But AOD, maybe it was somebody baiting the other one. Anyways, it's Voidlings on the menu as Mithy steps up to push him back. This is a bit of a wonky start in this jungle.
Yeah, Joko gets the flash from Trick. Trick overreaching there, but you could see Perks immediately put the aggression on in the mid lane to force Nuke Duck back, to prevent Nuke Duck from collapsing faster. That's always what you need to do when you're invading the enemy jungle. You make sure that you are there quicker than your opponent, and the same thing for bot lane. That's why we saw Mithy peel off and help his jungler. And right now they're looking to shut down Joko.
Oh, he could be in for a rough time of it for sure. Trick just making his presence known, and he's bringing Mithy, so they stepped up quite forward. Meanwhile, up top, you normally talk about wet noodle fights, but it's not two tanks. Cabochard's on the Camille, and Expect still has no flash, so he has to be careful.
Yeah, but Expect is fine. This wave is parked here. The enemy jungler is continuously revealed. By the time Joko heads back top, this flash is going to be back up, and honestly, the vision and pathic advantage that was on the side of Vitality got wasted by that early gank.
Yeah, so they tried to make some early stuff happen, but all they really got was a summoner spell out of it, and Trick was right back in the driver's seat after the fact. Still, it's nice to see Vitality trying to make some early plays.
I'm really liking the deep wards from Vitality. This is an element of proactivity that we did not see in their gameplay. Cabochard just walked into the enemy jungle, placed the ward on Krugs, so now they have full knowledge again of where Trick is.
All right, Nuke Duck. Back to the mid lane now, and they just keep moving around, making sure they have the vision for themselves. Take a look.
It's a good vision toggle here. Shows you just how easy it is right now for Vitality to play. Joko, he could, if he was stronger than Trick, he could contest him on Raptors. Remember, Trick used his flash here, and he may want to do exactly that.
Well, he's heading back up.
Yeah, he's going to loop around from the other side.
Oh,
Wait for him
Trick.
to start it. There's a ward on
Oh, boy.
Raptors placed by Steelback. So Vitality really working as a team here. Vision is a team objective for Vitality, and it's working out.
Here comes Joko. Well, he's definitely looking for a hunt right now. No? He moves back up top. I was
No, they want to
lying
get
you.
I think they saw Expect move out, so they're trying to catch him in the river with his flash down.
He still has none, yeah. Joko waiting in the tri-brush. This time Cabochard looking for the collapse. He goes in, hook shots, Expect is fighting. Shield was there, Expect realizes, uh-oh, something might be going on. And he actually passed right back down, and Joko wraps around the wrong way.
So this is about a minute that Joko has spent with full vision on his opponents, staying in brushes, waiting for a potential gank, and not really getting anything done. So huge missed opportunity. Right now, Nuke Duck knows something's coming.
Yeah, there's the shield. Command Protect on. Perks is low on mana, though. He can't get involved. And Nuke Duck isolation damage, there it was. He's going to get out. A lot of misfires in this early game.
Yeah, no, misfire is just really good movement here by Nuke Duck. He kind of read the change in Perks' gameplay, that he knew he was getting ganked. Then he looked at his vision. He's like, okay, I imagine he has to come from behind me, so he actually juked forward. Really solid movement there. Good read on the game.
It feels like a chess match then.
Yeah, you can really tell where the enemy jungler is coming from by how enemy laner is playing against you. Oh, Cabochard. That's a big shot.
Oh boy. Yeah, don't think he was expecting the anchor to hurt that much that early on.
Yeah.
Level 6 to level 5.
The tower shot he ate also helps. Hey, Joko's coming. They're trying to set up the dive here. Expect has flash available. Can he outplay?
Back up again. Okay, hook shot right in. The minions are there. He's going to attack. Cabochard tanking. He gets the ultimatum on. A tack sweep. One more auto. He needs it, but he's going to get knocked up, and Joko went down.
He does go for the 1-for-1. I think Expect knows. He kind of goofed here. Didn't use his flash at all. Could have flashed to the other side of the tower before Cabochard really launched that ultimate and put them in a really bad spot to follow up. But he still gets a 1-for-1. Ultimate was very late. I think he was trying to get level 6. I don't think he was level 6 as that dive was happening.
Oh man, Joko even flashed to try and get away from it. Ends up not being the case, so traded of kills, first blood to Vitality, but only a couple hundred gold given the difference right now.
Yeah, Expect was so close to level 6. He actually got it off using his AoE ability right there on the E. And obviously that helped him level up. Here, let's watch this again. So he's level 5 right now. So now he has to decide, do I flash here, maybe here? I think if you flash under your turret right there, and then Cabochard hits you, Joko will be in such an awkward spot here. Ooh. Poorly executed flash by Joko as well, just in turret range. And Expect is like, I saw the montage. So close.
Almost had the big outplay, but he still got 1-for-1 at the end of it.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. Perks is actually getting the Raptor steal off. He gets the small ones at the very least. Scout of the week. Back into the mid lane, pinging. Nuke knows where he was, knows what kind of errand he was on for a little while now.
Yeah, and I like the vision from G2 in the river, really working together here. It's when an entire team has the same goal in mind, you can just do so much more. All these control wards helping together, and every time there would be a chance for Nuke to step out of mid lane, he will get spotted. So one of the roams kind of gets taken care of, and then this ward over the wall, and it becomes another game where Joko has a hard time to have agency in the game.
Yep. Trying to make plays early on, but he's having some trouble even inside of his own jungle. Trick and Mithy once again moving forward to push him out of his own zone.
Yeah, and they kind of get guided into the enemy jungle by these control wards. There's one even moved into enemy tri-bush. They had one in the little brush next to mid lane, but they moved that control ward even more aggressively to really consolidate that path. Look at the division denial against Vitality here by G2 Esports, really solidifying these objectives.
Yeah, this is clean play from them. Definitely the kind of thing we expected to see against Vitality, but Vitality's still putting up this fight. It's just the execution difference, it's so obvious, it seems.
It's also draft here. If you draft Ori into the Syndra, despite it being revealed and you're still getting pushed in, pressured in early, and your bot lane can't keep the push pressure up, then yeah, it's so easy for Trick to really take a claim on the bottom side of the map, right? And you would think that's fine if Joko then can snowball the top side of the map, but his repeated ganks have only netted a 1-for-1 overall and have given so much information for G2 to work with.
So G2 has definitely not had any trouble repelling things back. They get themselves the first Drake into the game. Mountain Drake, of course, and stealing away a red buff, too, makes Joko's life a little harder. Nuke will get some tower free time after the fact, but honestly, it doesn't translate to a whole lot.
But the game is slowly swinging in terms of kind of spikes. On level 6, steal back, and after a few bases, once he gets his tier up as well, he'll scale a bit better into the game. AOD can block a lot of these all-ins. And then in the mid lane, you have this Rengar ultimate that becomes available. Just need to jump onto Perks, burn his summoners, visit again later, or just open with an Orianna ulti and Perks drops it. Or if Joko decides to gank top lane, it's so hard for G2 to survive. If Vitality play the next 5 minutes right, they should be able to generate at least 1 kill with that Rengar pick. But they failed to do exactly that, I think, in week 2 or 3. When Joko played this pick, he was not invisible.
Well, this time he's definitely made himself a little bit more known. But if he goes invis, he could cause some havoc for Perks in the mid lane. But Perks playing very far forward. They do have a lot of vision down in this bottom side. The question is, where will they approach from? You can see Cabochard roaming down to mid at the moment.
Yeah, he really wants to find Perks. Is Perks aware of this?
Oh, there he is, the flash forward, and now he's in the ultimatum, but he gets scattered, and Trick's gonna hop right in. Nuke claims the kill, but Cabochard is finished off, courtesy of the tower. It's a 1-for-1 trade again.
Yeah, very fast reply here by Expect, instantly channeling the teleport in case the enemy would survive. There's teleport advantage right now on the map for Vitality, so this is a really good configuration. I really like the roam from Cabochard. It was almost a massive outplay, because at the end of the E from Camille, you can carry over the knock-up if you flash on somebody. He was super close to stunning Perks right there.
There we go. That was definitely something impressive to see. Let's take a look at it one more time.
So you see Perks flash, and obviously Cabochard wants to flash after. I think he could have nailed that one if he kept traveling a tad longer on the second part of his hook shot. And obviously Joko ended up wasting his ultimate as well in that exchange. So really right now, the goal for Vitality is to either really fight against this deep vision in their red jungle, or go topside again, snowball Cabochard, and then use his teleport advantage to maybe make a play somewhere else.
See if they can make it happen. Clearing out the vision here, Nuke and Joko. They're able to get it done, and Trick was away.
I mean, they can aggressively contest this, because if Expect shows in the top lane, then Vitality can force a 4v5 on the bottom side of the map super easily.
Yeah, definitely no problem. So the AOD up here as well. AOD's actually not had too bad of a start, too, even though they've been pushed in a bit. I think this Lulu,
it's
definitely a little different than the Nami.
Yeah, he's been playing Lulu here. Is Mithy gonna face check? Let's see.
Well, who's checking who? Okay, he had the spell shield, but then Joko goes right on in. Joko is gonna get that big buff from AOD, staying alive, and Nuke tags his way forward. Shockwave pulls it, Perks and Trick. Joko looking to execute, and the tag sweep is not even the one that does it. It's Joko that gets the kill.
Yeah,
they grab one.
Suddenly, Cabochard arrives without even using his teleport. We saw the hesitation from G2. Mithy kind of needed help face-checking that brush, but as G2 were kind of organizing to help, they were just caught off guard. Totally did not expect this aggressive playstyle from Vitality.
And they keep on going. They look for Trick. He's going to have to flash out. Ooh, the Thunderlord proc from Joko, it looked like. No? Might have been the Orianna. Anyways, it's going to let them grab themselves a little bit more time on the tower. And yeah, Vitality's starting to pull the trigger. Joko at the front line of it all. It's nice to see him definitely trying to make the most out of this Rengar.
Expect peels down, and you can see that G2's shot calling is incredibly kind of in the moment, because they could have talked about Mithy needing help in that brush earlier. They didn't pull the trigger because they were so afraid of the CC immunity from Rengar, but they held on too long, and Nuktuk with a fantastic roam there.
Oh yeah, and now Vitality can keep pushing forward and try to take the vision away, and at least get themselves some time on this tower. For all the action, we haven't really seen a tower fall just yet at 13 minutes into this game.
And you could also see the kind of shift here. The main player right now is actually Cabashard, kind of roaming down into the mid lane to enable things. Previously, the only player getting stuff done in the early game on Vitality was Joko. He is involved in 30 of their 36 early kills. Like, this guy was basically the crux in the early game for Vitality, but right now all the members are pulling their weight. We saw deep wards on camps, we saw pings come out, we saw Cabashard pressure his lane and then move out.
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace for Vitality. We'd seen them honestly kind of not act with the vigor that their name would imply, but this game is very different. And even though they don't have the hugest of gold leads, they have the pressure advantage. And if they can keep on pushing it, they can get that outer towers knocked all down, get themselves some map vision.
Yeah.
G2 could be in trouble.
But you can see what they've done already. They've cleared out those 4 pink wards, which now allows Joko to kind of roam into the river. Mithy has no sidestone wards whatsoever, which allows Steelback to play hyper aggressive. And honestly, the G2 bot lane does not know what's going on. They'll see Rengar right now, ping him out, trying to figure out what to do, but instead, they'll just take the base.
Yeah. Matching on CS now, Steelback and Sven. Steelback on that Ezreal is going to be waiting for quite a lot of time before he's going to get scaled up, and Joko keeps showing face down bot, even with the ward there.
Yeah, they can just hard dive bot lane right now, because look at Cabashard, he's peeling away because he has teleport available. There's ball delivery and Joko. I think they should just pull the trigger right here if you're Vitality, but they're hesitating.
Well, they're thinking about it. Speaking of balls, Perks is looking to throw a couple Nuktuk and Joko's way.
Yeah, I think they don't have the accurate timer on the teleport. There was a small window where they could do it, but they let it fly by. And now Expect has teleport, which allows G2 to kind of combat these movements much easier.
Yeah, but on the plus side for Vitality, there's Trinity Force completed for Cabashard. He's going to hit that spike right about now. Still waiting for Orianna to complete items. In the jungle, it's pretty much been evenly matched. So Vitality, it's not translated into huge gold just yet for them, but they are on the push.
Yeah, Steelback has to be careful. If he kind of plays too far forward compared to his support, all it takes is a flash from Mithy to really just lock him down. Flash into Nether Grasp, into the Deadly Flourish, which then keeps you locked down into the silence from the Malzahar. Yes, Lulu can buff your HP, but you will lose that trade really hard.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of those highlight plays. Trick is going to be making his way into the Vitality jungle, clearing away the control ward. He's got Perks and Mithy at his back.
And this hyper-extended laning phase in the bot lane, both AD carries sitting over 1,500 gold. Especially Steelback right now is almost on 2K. It means that nobody has vision. All these sidestone wards have been placed and expired by now.
Easy peasy dragon take right now. They just take the Blast Cone Express to go grab it, and there's really nothing Vitality can do with their jungler sitting closer to the mid lane.
The observers just showed us, they're telling us the Vitality story, so that there was one element of proactivity, but to really keep the tension in a game, you need to base often. Why? Because you need more wards. You need vision. Vision is the first objective. If Vitality is letting that slip.
And let the tower slip too.
Yeah, they had some pressure. They could have based much earlier. Like, how many moments did we see G2 bot lane catching the wave under their turret, where Steelback could have based an AoD, but they told themselves, nah, one more wave, it's fine. I just want my item spike. I want to get my Muramana and my CDR boots and my longsword. Why don't you base a little earlier, get vision advantage, and then you don't get the dragon snuck on you.
Yeah, it's not the first time it's happened too. They've lost out on not just that Ocean Drake, but also a Mountain. So Vitality seems a little greedy to stay in the lane, try to keep themselves farming up, and it's kind of bit them in the behind.
Yeah, definitely. And so often we talk about Expect, the weakest link of G2 Esports. Is he going to fall behind against this kind of stellar top laner in Cabashard?
I mean, he got like 5 steel links and there's 1 made of iron. I don't think it's too bad, right?
It's definitely not too bad, and he kind of caught up. His early flash got blown. Yes, Cabashard roamed a few times, but every single aggressive play from Vitality, bar the one around the Blast Cone, has kind of resulted in a 1-for-1 trade. So it's not as efficient, not as refined, but there is progression, and that's exactly what they're looking for, especially if you look at their schedule in the coming weeks.
Absolutely. Vitality, they're going to have some much more winnable matches. I mean, we talk about this game being pretty even altogether, but G2 is still the top team in Europe and Vitality close to the bottom.
Yes, and we need to stress it's not even just like winnable matches, it's super important matches. Because this team is looking at Giants, Roccat, Origin, and Splice
all in 3 weeks
as their next 4 matches in the next 3 weeks. That is where, if they pick up 2 wins, they can honestly guarantee themselves to be above relegation. They can maybe challenge for that 3rd spot. It's so important for Vitality to get stuff done.
That was a nice attempt, but unfortunately, G2, they were faster on the trigger finger, forcing Nukeduck to flash away. But look at where Camille is. Cabochard on the backside at TP'd. Let's see if they have a second wind.
They're looking to re-engage here. They find Sven.
Oh, right on top of him. And Joko hops in. There's the ultimatum. They're going to polish him off. Steelback with the kill credit. Secured now as Trick is limping away, but Cabochard stopped up by the Nether Grasp. Joko had the Wild Growth on. It's a quick 1 kill, but they invested heavily to do it.
Yeah, I'm loving it here, and Expect was not part of that play. His teleport is on quite a large cooldown, which means he channeled it, canceled it, and G2 was still stuck. So this is a major communication error on G2 side and a massive punish from Vitality. This sense of proactivity, this sense of action, just wanting to win, the desire to win, it's finally there for Vitality.
Yeah, it took them 18.5 minutes. Okay, they showed a little bit more early. I might not be completely fair there, but Perkz pushing on the mid. They had Expect pushing on the top. Nukeduck has stopped up for a second. Perkz is chasing him down. He's got Mythy at his back. Nukeduck overstepped his bounds. He's got no summoner spells, and Mythy gets the final shot with Voidlings. Meanwhile, up top, they will secure a tower. It's Vitality, even though Trick was there trying to fight him back.
Oh, and the answer from G2 immediately in the mid lane here. This was Expect, obviously, on the back end of that play. He got the movement advantage because he stayed bottom lane. Of course, he wasn't part of that fight, which was a mistake, but then he pushed up bot. He walked into the mid lane, and they found Nukeduck overextended.
Ooh, okay, ooh, that heal was necessary. Still back at Joko. They're going to live to fight another day. Yeah, all of a sudden, this game just kind of comes alive with objectives traded.
Yeah, and Sven still has all his sums and his ultimate available because he got popped instantly. So now he's on the map too, and G2 looking to really snowball off a small roam from Expect here, from mid to top.
Well, G2 have been very vocal prior to IEM, talking about not wanting to punish mistakes in the micro sense, but always going for the objectives. They're definitely doing both right now.
I mean, they will still punish micro mistakes. There's this conception that G2 is not going to take the free kill if it's there because they're not taking micro advantages. But let's see how it came to be. Expect is in the bot lane. He's already canceled his teleport, and Cabochard is still here. So G2 is essentially stuck in the river 4v5, and they should get slaughtered here. Actually, very lucky for them that Trick survives.
Yeah, that made a big bit of difference.
Because they only get 1 kill, and then obviously Expect walked up and he got even more.
All right, brief moment of respite after all that action as we hit 20 minutes on the Rift. Taking a check-in with what we got in our items. The Ezreal on the Iceborne Gauntlet still stacking on the tier. The Muramana on the other side, of course, Sven, has his quintessential lethality items already completed. Yes, Edge of Night got a bit of a nerf, but still pretty good on this Jhin.
Yeah, still the preferred build. You can see though League of Ninja Tobbies. Everybody really kind of they're the new Swifties. A lot of the high elo players right now will joke about them on Twitter. Basically, how do you see who's winning? Well, you press tab and you check who has more Ninja Tobbies because they're so efficient.
Well, looks like by that logic, I would say clearly G2 in the driver's seat.
And guess
3
what?
greater than 1.
Guess what? Pyra,
hey, there
the
we
gold,
go.
It's supporting the theory.
Can I be an analyst now?
Yep. count control wards and count Ninja Tobbies, and you're probably not far off to see who's winning.
All right, good pro tip for sure. Thanks, Crepo. G2 looking to make sure they keep the vision all clear on their side of the map. There's another Ocean Drake spawning. Not the biggest contest to 21 minutes, but G2 have got them all so far. Vitality have kept most of the wards in the last 5 minutes or so on their side of the map.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference this game has been the participation kind of between Perkz and Nukeduck. Nukeduck had this one great moment where he walked up for the shockwave, but Perkz has been kind of continuously poking out, pressuring, even playing on half HP, and then moving into the river for pressure and then basing. So he's really not going for kind of these faster lane leads where he can be back with his items. He's really trying to translate any advantage that he has in terms of pressure onto the map for the team. And that's a different Perkz than we're used to seeing.
Definitely playing more that way. Still, on this, Syndra has a lot of kill potential, and if he does get the chance to get the chase down, we saw it earlier, ended up being Mythy grabbing it.
Yeah.
But, an assist is good too.
We just
He's
saw
a team
a
player.
sneaky play from Trick on the map. He hopped over the wall to hit the blast cone, and then obviously got launched back into the Dragon Pick. This prevents enemy jungler from contesting. G2 trying to hold mid right now. Vitality ideally wanted to stall until Cabochard had pressure, but he peeled off, so it seems that Vitality set on a mid lane dive that could be defended by G2.
Yeah, there's still a little bit of health on that tower, and with a lot of members of G2 there, it's going to be hard for them to finish the job. Joko waiting in this brush to see if anyone's going to face check into him, but Mythy's there. There's a shield. Nukeduck stopped up for just a second. They still have enough push. The minions are going to be melted. Perkz just takes out Joko off screen.
Faintly hear the Malzahar ulti being channeled right there. Joko, He had a sphere thrown in front of him, popped in the Oracle to see if anybody was warded. It wasn't, so he felt safe. Now Nukeduck getting caught.
Oh, the curtain call's open, the Wild grows on, and Nukeduck is out of there. That's 2 quick kills, and the curtain call final shot nails Kabashard in the back of the head. G2, they're up inside this Baron pit right now. Are they going to start this off?
Yeah, Vitality all over the place. They see Steelback in the bottom lane. They just saw him, so expect can tank this. They have really good turn potential. There's no vision whatsoever. Really hard for Vitality to face check, and it looks like G2 are going to take an aggressive play from Vitality, catch the punch, turn the momentum around, and slap him in the face. 2 kills and Nashor.
Nice big swing here for G2 Esports, and that puts the gold lead at about 5,000. G2 playing it out pretty cleanly.
Yeah, and you can see that this is Vitality kind of taking baby steps in terms of aggression. So there was a control ward being placed that wasn't there just now. So Joko, he started in that brush with Sweeper. He walked up, back down, and the second he goes back down, there's suddenly a control ward, and he gets bopped. So he felt safe for a while, but he just simply wasn't paying attention to who left mid lane. So that's a very big mistake by him.
Yeah, that's just the caliber of understanding and game sense. In all honesty, we see that G2, they just have a lot more of it.
And it's also disrespect.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. You're making the most telegraphed dive in the bot lane, or in the mid lane rather. You just saw the enemy top laner walk down, so they were aware of this, and you face check like that with no backup. That is a rookie mistake.
We talked a lot about the rookies on Vitality, but I mean, there are definitely some old hands here. You look at players with names like Kabashard and Nukeduck, and it kind of evokes these players that had made some seriously big plays for themselves. Well, even Steelback, his time on Fnatic, and then over the Unicorns of Love, made a name for himself, but we just haven't seen that much out of these players of late.
Yeah, Sven had to flash here from Kabashard. He's getting the redemption right now. The new Malzahar build. Expect looking to catch Cabo.
Oh, he does. There's the ultimatum. He's going to flash his way out of it, but Joko steps on forward. Must have missed the memo, because Vitality were looking for the retreat path now. AOD looking to face tank the line, and they just dive behind the turret. Perks blows up AOD. A shockwave pulls in Expect, but he still kills Joko on the back half.
Yeah, Expect doing his job as a frontline tank, soaking damage and just providing CC. Poor AOD uses Wild Growth from somebody else and gets one shot by Syndra.
It's a rough time for AOD. Welcome to your 3rd game in the European LCS. Play a different champion. Results still look to be the same. G2 marching into the base of Vitality. Get themselves an inhibitor soon enough. It's only Cabo, Nukeduck, Steelback trying to defend. Expect is a little low here, but he's giving them enough respect. And G2 are going to back away. Still Baron buff in tow, and they'll get out of the danger zone.
And they're walking away there. Some good zoning going on by Perks. Every time he puts a sphere down, there's always that looming threat that he will just shoot it forward and get a stun. And everybody else on Vitality playing pretty slow here. They disengage from Kabashard and then they immediately react. And why is Kabashard farming these range creeps? Like, it's in the details, but Vitality, they need to play with a bit more respect for their opponents, because G2 will pull the trigger. Yes, they lost the finals IEM, but it's not like they can't punish you when you're farming in front of them in full vision. And then obviously this cost them an inhibitor. So this is the type of small mistakes that Vitality need to start avoiding, but they're making progress.
They are making progress. It's always tough, though, when, you know, you think you're improving and then you have to go up against the best team in Europe, and then, okay, you're getting a little bit wrecked that time around. This will definitely come in handy for them in the next couple of weeks. But for now, it's looking like it's going to be a G2 game 1.
Yeah, but their game plan was at least followed and supported by their draft. They had a passive bot side. They had a snowbally top laner. They early ganked for him, went there again. Then they tried to leverage that advantage by sending Kabashard to mid lane to force picks. Yes, they need to communicate better when they contest vision. Yes, they're overextending at times, but this is a lower ranked team in the LCS. We can't expect greatness from them. We just need to see growth. And this is the first week where at least I see something from Vitality.
Yeah, Vitality looking to cultivate it, improving on those basics. Maybe need to play with a little respect, as you said, against this G2 team, but you know, as far as they're moving the snowball forward, it's still 8,000 in the lead to them. 26.5 minutes. They're looking to finish the job the easy, clean way. You go top, well, now it's time to go bottom. Split the opponent. Make sure they can't get involved.
Send in the tank, man. That Nautilus, so beefy. Doesn't even care about Orianna. Frozen Heart has some magic resistance. All he needs to do is hook Nukeduck and then soak the damage from the other part of the team.
Definitely playing it well. Some question marks even for G2, though, coming back from IEM. We saw Sven and Mithi, even before that, honestly had a little bit of a tougher time than we could have expected.
Yeah,
you could almost say dip in performance, but obviously they're not going to show that much here.
I think you could definitely say that. Definitely a dip. I mean, these guys were undeniably the best in the West at one point. Then there were, I mean, discussions. Are they the best or top 2 or top 3? But right now, they're definitely faltering. They're getting solo killed in lane sometimes. We see Mithi kind of hesitate on that check, and it's not necessarily a gameplay mistake. This all lies in communication and planning. When you can tell your team what you're doing a minute in advance or 30 seconds in advance. They can cater their lane states around that and then help you with your task.
Yeah. A lot of it, honestly, there's a lot of little tools you can do here and there.
Pinging.
Mentioned about, yeah, pinging is a really important thing. It's the kind of thing that we saw happening from the eventual winners of IEM, the Flash Wolves, pinging every single time. They were
you should
moves.
watch their games and just on mute and then try and follow their shot calling just by watching the pings. And G2 are actually doing it pretty well their game. Constantly telling each other right now, this is the brush I'm going for. There might be a ward here, back me up, okay. V pings if it's kind of dangerous. Even as simple as on the way pings, when you come back from base, and you just ping on the way to a brush and you just tell your team, this is the brush I'm looking for. I'm going to put a control word here, and I'm looking for deep vision in these 2 brushes. That tells your mid laner, oh, okay, checks the map. I have about 20 seconds until this guy's here. Let's slowly start pushing right now. I'll tag along, get the vision, because it benefits you as well. Because the deeper the vision, the more you see about the enemy jungle pathing, and that allows you to play aggressive and passive at the right time.
Gives you a lot more versatility in the playstyle. G2, they're just getting all the dragons this game. Since they own the map right now, it's an easy peasy pickup on the Infernal. And it could be another one. Oh, and some Mountain coming up, excuse me, if they even needed to end the game.
Yeah, I don't think they do. They have 4 dragons right now. Pretty good spread. And honestly, they're just waiting for the next Baron Nashor. They don't need to force for another inhib. They know on next Nashor they can probably close out the remaining inhibitors. And they're just systematically destroying all the vision. This is pretty deep from VIT. You can actually get caught here, so you have to be careful.
Looks like he's safe enough to clear it out. AOD wasn't going to face check outside of his own base at the moment.
Yeah,
Speaking of Baron.
Sven solo pushing versus a Rengar. This is G2 taking liberties with the state of the map right here. He was all the way up to the remains of tier 2 turret against a comp that has Camille with teleport and a Rengar. You have to be really confident in your sweeping of wards.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Well, you say confidence on one end, and we talked about Vitality not having all the respect. G2, I guess they don't really need to.
And those are exactly the things that get punished by better teams or team with more focus on vision and kind of predicting the punish, because that's what happens at IEM. These guys like suddenly pull the trigger, or they fight you for every control ward, whereas in Europe, when G2 plays lower tier teams or even sometimes high tier teams, they kind of roll over and just let them take all the vision.
Well, Vitality, they definitely had some lapses, but it didn't seem like they were keen to completely just give everything up this game. The early game plays, they tried to make some, just got turned around a couple times.
G2 making a play here, Expect coming in, knocks up Steelback.
Right onto him. Okay, they stop him up for another second. Mithy flash forward, instant nether grasp, and the ball comes down. Steelback moving away. Expect, though, he looks like he's caught. His Vitality are looking to shuffle their way around the side. Joko looking to hunt down somebody. He finds Sven, throws the bullet, true shot, barrage, nails Mithy and Trick, and that is only going to tickle him. For now, Steelback and AOD limping back to base.
Ooh, so much time spent under CC there for Steelback, and he didn't go down, so this is great. He was almost wishing he built the QSS second. We gave him so much flack for that in the past. Right now, Mithy.
Oh, Shockwave pulls him in comes Kaba. Maybe this is the chance they're looking for. Attack sweep dodged out. In comes Joko, looking for perks. He doesn't go down, just flashes outside of the range. Barely making his escape of Vitality on the charge.
Pyra, so unfortunate for Vitality right here. They should have killed Perks right there. What a really good combo. And again, hubris from G2 Esports. Mithy is solo clearing wards, fully in vision of the opponents who still have cooldowns. He just gets blocked.
Finally, Vitality are able to crack that outer turret in the mid that gives them a little bit of gold. That's only their second tower of the game, by the way. And yeah, G2, they had all the cards this time around. To think they got caught like that, that's surprising.
Yeah, definitely. Really just not communicating. Look at where Mithy is. Why is he here? He's like, guys, hello? Oh, never mind. They actually have ultis. And then Kabashard. Perks should die here. If AOD just flashes and does EQ on Perks, Perks is dead. And that means that Kabashard and Joko can chase, and then Trick dies as well. And then suddenly Baron may even drop. Like, it can actually snowball that hard.
Yeah, a little bit of hesitation. It seemed Joko was actually more keen to just flash out of there, assuming they'd be able to get down Perks, but a very close call. It only ended up being the one kill there. Vitality still have a chance.
OG2 pinging Nashor. Did they start it? Are they baiting it? Trying to lure Vitality in there.
Maybe a little half-hearted. Trick's already down to half health.
Where's the vision? Vitality seems like they know this.
Scuttle Crab on for Vitality.
Yeah. Okay. That explains.
Yeah, Kabashard's got TP. He's just gonna keep on pushing.
Generally, that's enough vision to see what's going on there. Obviously, they were trying to hide in the pit, but I think somebody accidentally aggroed Nashor. They probably were going for a corner bait right there. But Expect Sunfire may have aggroed it.
Man, Kabashard, he's still pushing completely free right now.
The map right now is for Vitality. G2 had a failed attempt on Nashor, and to kind of come back from that, that takes you about one minute of map play, usually.
It's a big gold influx, though. Vitality are going to be pretty happy with this. So you know, Cabochard's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. He already had the Titanic and the Trinity Force, and of course, you know, trying to keep himself not from getting locked up with the QSS, but it's going to help him even further.
Definitely, and now this scaling lineup here of Vitality, if they can eliminate one of the key players on G2 with their combo, with the delivery system right here on Trick, Perkz, or even Sven, then suddenly this gold swing or this gold advantage, it doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah. We had to go back to, honestly, some of the critique that we've leveled at G2 and Mithy stepping a little far forward. We talked about most of it being a problem in his laning phase, but that face check, even with the control ward, it wasn't necessary. They didn't see everybody outside, and it was a quick collapse from Vitality.
It's both a problem on Mithy's side and also on his teammates for not covering for him, right? So QSS used on Steelback. Now Joko's getting engaged on. Vitality need to answer.
Oh, he goes in. That's a big shockwave, but they already blew up Joko, and Nukeduck is going to follow him to the grave. Redemption comes in, and G2, they're looking for some redemption after that last fight, and they will get 2 for none. Cabo is trying to change, and he takes down Sven, but gives his life.
And that's exactly the problem. This fight could have been good if Cabochard was here, but he ends up going 1 for 1 and loses his Guardian Angel. So bad. Nukeduck for a moment thought he was Faker. He saw the flash shockwave on 4 people. He wanted to highlight reel, but this time there was a Nami ulti to follow up. There was nobody locking them down.
Should have picked Nami. Okay, well,
yeah.
Today we learned.
Challenging the Wolf.
4 members now on the Baron. It's only Steelback and AOD that could attempt it to try and push back G2, but that is some slim odds if I've ever seen them. A couple of Mystic shots flying into the pit, but there's a smite to contend with. Steelback going around the backside. That'd be a hell of a miracle steal. They're getting low on this one, and he sends it. No.
Steelback's also not the player to then shift in and try and kill somebody, right? This guy's going to play a max range of the fight, throw out 2 Qs, and then get caught. This is like typical Steelback right there.
He saw the montage too, unfortunately.
I mean, just try and snipe 2 players. Shift aggressively onto Mithy.
Vitality have had a hard time around that Baron pit, but they've had a hard time in general in the European LCS. Let's take a look at this fight and how it went down.
Yeah, disengage here. Joko getting sold. Nukeduck going in immediately. And that is a bit of the problem. Like, look at how far Cabochard is there. Like, if actually Nukeduck has some more patience and he waits slightly longer and they arrive at the same time, imagine if Cabochard has this ulti plus Nukeduck has his shockwave on top of that. That could have been a wash, even 4v5.
That's something to be said for burst damage.
They're going 1 by 1 right now.
Yeah, that's coordination. They're just not having it. So even though Vitality have been able to turn a couple of fights, a couple of picks on G2, the game is still firmly in the latter's favor. We are 35 minutes into this game. It looks like G2 were going to close it out cleanly, but they've definitely had a couple of mistakes. Now they march in with Baron-empowered minions into the mid lane. They have an open inhib up top.
They're going to get 2 inhibitors right here with the 4-1 split. Answer from Joko, I like it, because Trick showed in the top lane. G2 peeling back. Just waiting for Trick to get access to the inhibitor. Once Trick reveals somebody else, like Steelback right now, that's when G2 will walk back into the mid lane.
Just keep on playing this one out. Systematic. Don't give any chances for Vitality to come back into it once again. Camille being the X factor here for Cabochard. He's been getting his split push on, but he hasn't been able to contribute much in fights because they haven't been able to sync it up. Joko, a huge chunk of his health bar taken down.
And just play passive right here if you're G2, because Trick is taking that inhibitor. We see it in the picture-in-picture. That one's down. Now they can technically do the same thing for 1 bot. Oh, Trick gets denied.
He's caught in. Nowhere to go right now. Tack sweeps on, and he gets shut down by Steelback. Polishes off that last kill, and a shockwave pulls and expect only tickles him for a second, but in goes Cabo. Wild grows on, but he's still taking way too much damage. Perkz just annihilates Nukeduck, but he gets returned on. Steelback playing the hero in the back half, but G2, they're still pushing on here. AOD's caught, expect goes in, the anchor, the double kill for Sven. They take down the turret, the curtain call comes up, and it's gonna be curtains for Vitality. 1 more kill, looking for Joko. He is the last man standing in the Vitality base, and not for long.
Yeah, very well fought team fight by G2 Esports. Perkz finding Nukeduck right there, removing him entirely from the fight, punishing that really, honestly, over-eager engaged by Cabochard. He was so happy that he caught Trick, gave him the bug splat out of the air, denied the leap, but then it was just too deep from Vitality.
Too deep and too little too late. They get punished. G2 Esports will close this one out just shy of 37 minutes on the clock to take a 1-0 in the series.
And golf claps come out, and I think they're appropriate. The audience was just waiting for Nexus to explode, but no. This is what G2 need. They just need a win right now, hopefully 2-0. A relatively clean game. You could argue there was some mistakes, but you could see how much they were playing together. They were very scared of Joko picking them off, and Cabochard was repeatedly giving opportunities to put split push pressure and then disappear into Fog of War. So against a better team, G2 could have definitely easily lost this.
I think they know that too.
Yeah, I think they know that. That's why they shouldn't be happy with this win.
A lot to think about heading into the next game. But yeah, they gave a lot of powerful picks over too. I mean, that does seem to be a part of it. Joko did what he could to make the most of this Rengar early on. Some micro decision-making problems from him. Some lack of respect from the Vitality side altogether.
Yeah, you can definitely debate whether he should level 2 gang top there or go for kind of a jungle advantage. But early on, I like what Vitality were trying. It seemed like they came in with a goal. They were trying to execute it. G2 obviously played well. They played like one of the better teams in Europe. It's obviously, we're just very mindful of them and their misplays at times because we want to see them get better.
Well, we'll see if they can. Now, we're going to go ahead and send it over to the analyst desk for a closer look at game number 1.
Thank you, guys. And indeed, in terms of surprises, G2 was going to take this game, and they did. But the surprise lies in the fact that we were hoping that Vitality would do something, and they did exactly that in the early game. They didn't sit passively. They actually tried to make moves.
Yeah, it was pleasantly surprising. I actually look at this early game from Vitality and think if you do what they did against like Giants and Market, I think that
yeah, who goes even versus
game,
G2
right?
at 10 minutes? Not too many teams.
It was something I'd really like to echo what Krepo said, where it was very much that the team looked like they came in with a game plan and they executed upon it. This was what we wanted to see from Vitality, and that was nicely set up when we already saw that early aggression from them up in the top lane.
And when you look at the pick ban phase, top lane's where they gotta go, right? And that's exactly where Joko goes. Camille is the lane that you want to try and snowball. You're not going to do it with Orianna, not going to do it with Ezreal, so get the flash already. It's a bit of that early surprising gank, but expect Under Tower does his best. It's that cannon minion would have done it.
If only he would have been able to get level 6, he might have been able to get a 2-for-1, but the sentiment still stands that this is exactly what Vitality needed to do. They needed to get Cabochard ahead on the Camille. They needed to start the snowball in the top half of the map. Then they have the split push presence that G2 has no answer for. If he starts rolling, then Vitality are in a great position to start closing out the game. We see their aggression continue towards the rest of the game. It was great to see from Vitality as they constantly look for opportunities.
Exactly, it was using this Camille or the Rengar either together or just with the rest of the team to find targets like Perks in the jungle. I mean, in the second replay we want to look at, okay, they find Mithy to begin with, but Perks ultimately gets punished for not having his summoners available on the tail end of this clip, and it's aggression again, utilizing this Rengar.
The thing that I really want to highlight is that Vitality were grouping up. You can see that Camille was already moving towards the mid lane well in advance. She didn't have to use the TP because Vitality wanted to move in aggressively for vision. And this was the thing. They realized Dragon's going to be up soon. We have push priority in mid. We have some pressure in top. Let's try and set up deep vision so that we can have an objective. And it's this forward thinking that is great to see from the side of Vitality.
Definitely. All the forward thinking was there, and they know they also needed to crack that first tower in the mid lane to get vision or be able to cross that line. However, that is exactly where they dropped the ball, even though they had the right idea.
Now, bear in mind, what Vitality are trying to do is just force G2 away from the turret. So Joko, he wants to make his presence known, but he steps out of the brush just as Mithy is getting vision down. It means he loses full control and he ends up getting picked off. And once he is dead, that pressure now disappears. Nukeduck is overstaying while the rest of the team has already backed away. And G2 are not, even though they didn't have their desired performance at IEM, they're not a bad enough team that they won't punish these very small mistakes.
And that was the window that let G2 back in. The early game was more of Vitality being proactive. G2 get the Baron from that play. I still question some of the decision-making in the mid-game that G2 had. We saw like Sven pushing out, Mithy getting caught later. And when you're kind of getting aggressed on, not aggressed on, but having a Rengar jumping up to top lane early game, then you're making mid-game decisions. This isn't a clean and crisp G2 that we would come to expect. They still handily close this game. I don't want to take anything away from them, but still there are these areas that the better teams are going to start exploiting.
The better teams here, but then was Vitality obviously that only got the advantage but wasn't able to clean it out. Who are those teams, if you look at Europe, that will be able to stop them?
I think Misfits H2K right now looked so good yesterday that I think H2K wouldn't let G2 go past them again a second time.
I think next week in particular is going to be the most exciting because when we have Misfits versus H2K, we're going to have a really good indicator of what a team that's just come back from IEM versus a team that's been prepping hard during IEM. So I think that that'll be a good indicator as to whether or not G2 are leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else. But I really want to echo that sentiment, which is very much that there were these points from G2 where they could have been a little bit crisper, could have been better in their decision making. And I think that they did drop the ball a little bit in the way in which they executed and tried to force plays where they didn't have to. And that did give windows for Vitality to come back in.
It did, and not just a window for Vitality, it also makes that they can have a better feeling going into game 2 and maybe put up more of a fight. But will it be enough? Do you see Vitality taking another game here, or will it be G2 either way?
I think that G2 still have firm control over the series. I think that the skill gap is still a little bit too big, but what we're seeing from Vitality is promising, especially when we look at their forward schedule.
I still think there's a lot to debate over with G2 right now, but we don't want to take too long over that. So I agree that G2 are looking so strong right now. It's going to be a 2-0.
Yes, they do. Well, G2 have taken game 1, but Vitality did show some much-needed fight. We'll see what happens in game 2 after the break.
He gets the ultimatum on, a tack sweep, one more auto, he needs it, but he's gonna get knocked up and Joko went down.
I'm used to it. I think, looking to re-engage your defenseman.
Oh, right on top of him, and Joko hops in, there's the ultimatum, they're gonna polish him off, steal back with the kill credit, and they just dive behind the turret. Perks blows up AOD, a shockwave pulls didn't expect, but he still kills Joko on the back half. The curtain call comes up, and it's gonna be curtains for Vitality. One more kill, looking for Joko. He is the last man standing in the Vitality base, and not for long. It's G2 Esports will close this one out just shy of 37 minutes on the clock to take a 1-0 in the series.